Bueno, vamos a continuar entonces. Tenemos una tarde relativamente corta por delante. Vamos a tener ahora una sesión de presentación de las AgTechs ganadoras de esta edición, de la edición 2024 de la Semana de la Agricultura
from the week of digital agriculture. And then after this session, we will continue with a tour of AICA's facility. Today, specifically, we will tour CIMAG and FabLab. We will tell you more about what they're all about in a little while. To moderate this afternoon's session, we invited Javi, as friends can call him. And while he asked his friends to call him Javi, I need to introduce him formally, and his name is Francisco Javier Mesa Carrascosa. He works for the agroforestry department of the University of Cordoba, Spain. He's an agricultural engineer and obtained his PhD in agricultural system at the very same University of Cordoba. Javi, thank you very much, first and foremost, for participating with the AUCO delegation with the Digital Agriculture Week, and secondly, for moderating this session. Thank you very much for always cooperating with the University of Cordoba. Let's start with the first presentation of the first pitch from the AgTechs,
Recording
the group
in
one,
progress.
ones who won this competition. 152 AgTechs participated, representing 21 different countries from throughout the regions of AICA. Regrettably, not everybody can win. So 16 were selected out of 14 different countries. I'm certain that the 24 experts who participated in this process had a hard time picking these 16 out of the whole bunch. I wanted to briefly tell you about how this next session will work. You have 10 minutes to present your AgTech to everyone, and then we'll have 5 minutes left in case there's any kind of questions. So let's try to stick to the timetable as much as possible. When you're short on time, I'll let you know so that I don't just cut you off. But let's start with the first AgTech. It's called Hola Tractor. They are from Bolivia, and the presentation is up to Maria René Mendez. Very well. Go ahead.
Hola, ahora sí.
Hello.
Okay. Bueno, buenas tardes.
Well, good afternoon. Hola Tractor promotes the economy of small-scale farmers to facilitate access to the expensive agricultural machinery in the format of a service, leveraging our technology for a profitable and cost-friendly agriculture that is focused on our market, under our premise of connecting farmers, SME farmers, with smart tractors. Next slide, please. Very well. In Latin America and in the Caribbean, small and mid-sized farmers are usually elderly, and they have to do a great deal of physical effort to farm for food under traditional means. They have variable income, often under the minimum salary, which keeps them away from the financial systems. Under this scenario, to accrue new technologies is for them, such as purchasing a tractor, is impossible. Under this structure, the young people migrate from the countryside to the city, seeking knowledge, seeking to increase their income. This results in expensive labor, and it's difficult to find labor in rural areas due to this migration, which is why it's so urgent to have agricultural machinery for these small to mid-sized farmers. Next slide, please. Very well. We all know that Latin America and the Caribbean have a key role in the production of food for the world, and they also have a great development potential through agricultural mechanization because there are large plots of land which are suitable to produce food that are currently not being leveraged. And because the sector is so important and so relevant for the economy of our countries, we see this as an opportunity because there's very few tractors and agricultural machineries in relation to other continents. Next slide, please. Result of this is that we have traditional production systems with low yields, without technology, oftentimes with machinery that is not adequate to the scale, and with farmers who don't have access to the financial system. This keeps the farmers in disadvantage in light of the demands of the market and vulnerable because they cannot face the impacts of climate change. In order to empower them, one of our tractors can tend to up to 150 farmers a year. Next slide, please. Which is why we have Hola Tractor. Through our technology of smart farming, with Internet of Things devices integrated to our platform, we facilitate access to agricultural equipment so that they may provide services to farmers, small to mid-sized farmers, which allows them to maximize their production and reduce their costs. With Hola Tractor, small to mid-sized farmers welcome technology. And why do I say this? And why are tractors so important? Because an appropriate level of mechanization is the first step in modernization. It's the first point of contact that farmers have with innovation and technology, which is why our solution focuses heavily on the last mile challenges in order to achieve climate smart agriculture, linking several different stakeholders as part of the mechanization chain through our solutions. We also supply in a smart manner the agricultural machinery with geolocation. And for the implementation of this technology, we empower young people and women from rural communities. We also have various communication channels. We communicate through our platform. We also use WhatsApp, SMS, and our own call center. And our network of agencies and operators receives training. Through our application for the reserve or mechanization services, farmers request the machinery and they receive it in their communities, which allows them to make their operations more agile. They also make their fields more digital because through our app and through tracking agricultural machinery, they have the exact information and do follow up online. In our app, the people consolidate and add services for their communities, and the owners of tractors manage their equipment and can make smart decisions based on information that they can display according to the performance of their equipment. Next slide, please. Our smart agriculture software is integrated with Internet of Things devices, and it creates a user profile and assigns a score to it. And it does this based on their history and also based on their operational and financial performance, the operational and financial performance of the tractor. It takes the tractor as a business and as an instrument of warranty. This in order to generate opportunities to move closer to financial leveraging, which is of interest for financial institutions and also for private and public institutions promoting the development of SME farmers. Our solution of shared tractors for entrepreneurs under a format of accessible leasing allows these entrepreneurs to develop their projects, to have access to machinery and tools with low levels of investment. We are a team that is highly trained. We're passionate about innovation, about technology, about financial inclusion. The growth and the development of our company is financed by two institutions that also rely on our vision as a company. The impact of our solution working across the board creates resilience among small to mid-sized farmers because it allows them to tackle the impacts of climate change. Because when a tractor reaches their communities and it's ready to deliver mechanization services, it allows to work on their hard, eroded soils, even under frost or high temperature. And our solution increases up to 60% their income. Next slide, please. Our impact strengthens our commitment towards the revolution of climate-smart mechanization. Currently, we are in the process of developing different roles in terms of climate alert. Our solution is also easily integrated to government mechanization processes. And what we seek is to expand at the regional level, to bring our solution to the various countries in Latin America in order to promote this economy in rural areas through the access to agricultural mechanization services. I want to take this opportunity to invite you so that in the upcoming days, we may schedule meetings so that you can get to know our plans in greater depth and also to establish potential alliances and explore joint opportunities as they exist in the various countries of Latin America. Thank you very much. Very well. Thank you very much, Maria, for sticking to the time. There's time for a couple of questions. Question over here.
Hola.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's an excellent service you're offering. The question is, who drives these tractors? Does this service come with the driver, the person who will be driving the tractor and the equipment? Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, we have a network of operators who receives training for it. Very well. Another question? The question is whether you thought of doing the same, because in addition to tractors, drones for small-scale farmings can be very efficient, and it has some very interesting figures in terms of efficiency, even for health purposes of the products. Thank you for the question. We have considered this among our forecasted plans. However, as of right now, we are focused on tractors. Another question? One more question? I'm just curious. There's a company that does something similar in Africa. They've been doing this for a while, and they're called Hello Tractor. I wanted to know if you took your name from them or
No.
if it came from somewhere else. No, just coincidence of life. Very well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Maria. We're going to move on to the next presentation with the platform Puma, and this will be presented by Laura or Roberto. Very well, thank you. Thank you, Aika, for inviting us to participate in this week, and thank you all for taking the time to listen to us. In the upcoming days, I took back home 3 concepts that I think really are aligned with the pillars of our company. One is collaborative effort among all of the stakeholders in the system. I think that we, the AgTechs, do this naturally, but I think that we still need to work more along those lines in farmers and people who work in science and technology. And another point I took home from one of the presentations is the role of the companies in Latin America and the Caribbean in offsetting greenhouse gas emissions. So I think that we could also add our effort to that. Well, Puma is a platform. It's called Puma because the sole unified platform for environmental monitoring. We're from Argentina, Mar del Plata specifically, and we are a platform that works on climate technology. We like to say, sorry, I'm taking over the screen. And our purpose is to support companies in their transition towards regenerative and resilient agriculture. Very well. The problem that we tackle are greenhouse gas emissions. As you know, they have an impact in terms of climate change, but there's also an opportunity because 1/3 of those emissions are generated in the agricultural industrial field, and a part of that third is caused by the production of raw materials. So we believe that we have identified an opportunity to work with agriculture and livestock farming in order to mitigate the impact of greenhouse gas emission. I'll tell you a little bit about us. We started in 2019 as a platform to monitor crops, but in 2020, we developed a calculator for the carbon footprint for agricultural products. From the first day we had a positive cash flow, we continued to have it. This sometimes generates a certain level of noise for investors, but we still consider it something positive. We started working in 2021 in Uruguay, Paraguay, and Bolivia. Sorry. And then in 2022 and 2023, we started working in Brazil. We had collective agreements with institutions related to the agricultural sector at the national level. We had our first round of investments, and in 2024, we managed to transform technology in this platform to have better technology, newer technology. We organized ourselves, we changed all of the systems, and we started opening to certain countries, first Brazil, then Mexico, etc. And by 2025, we are envisioning a second round of investments, and we are also envisioning some new technologies that I'll tell you all about in just a couple of minutes. What are the products that we offer to the farmers and to the companies? We have several different environmental indexes. The main one is the carbon footprint calculator, but we have certain also indicators for an efficient use of water. We have soil health. This is all stuff that you can see here, but the one we like more is the simulator, which is a tool that allows every farm to have his data uploaded, and based on that, we can envision future scenarios and improve or change the variables to think about the best practices that can be mitigated and lower greenhouse gas emissions. Our products end up being in a report, sustainability report, that is based in almost all of the international standards that are currently in force.
Bueno, como les decía, estos son los
As I
informes
mentioned, these are the voluntary sustainability reports that we present. The information remains here in the platform, and depending on the report that the client may need, the data are adapted in order for these results to apply to each one of these standards of quality and certifications. What is our business model? Well, we have two types of customers. We have farmers and companies. In the past few years, we're steering towards companies because they're the ones who more promptly understand that we need to measure our environmentally, that we need to be sustainable, and they apply their programs to their farmers. And also for a topic of volume, each one of these companies generates an analysis with 500,000 hectares and maybe a smaller production. We charge a fee per hectare per year, which is approximately between 30 cents of a dollar and $1.50, depending on the amount of services that the company has offered. And we are also a company, our client is multi-industry. It's not just agricultural farmers, but agricultural and livestock farming, but also other companies such as banks. For example, banks buy the packages with our hectares or heads of livestock, and they offer their clients the use of the platform, or industries like clothing that have to measure, for example, the impact of cotton. As I mentioned, some of our clients are large-scale companies, well-known, but there are certain customers in like Argentina who manufacture peanuts, and they started becoming more industrial. Right now, we are measuring 3 million hectares on our platform right now. Last year, we had 300,000 in income. This year, we're expecting 800,000. We have approximately 3,000 farmers, but 40 clients. Their group clients are 40, and farmers are 3,000. And there's 25 of us who are working on the platform in the various areas, the areas of science of technology, technological development, the commercial area. And well, a year and a half ago, we had a first round of $280,000 gathered. Well, some of the acknowledgements and awards we won, of course, the one here, one of the most important ones, and the connection with these quality standards as a SAI platform. I'm very nervous, sorry. Such a rush. The impacts that we were able to measure together with our clients really account for few reductions in carbon dioxide, especially between 32 and 15%, depending on the crop type. But at least we managed to make sure that they were measured and that these practices are improved. On the other hand, we also noticed that the percentage of hectares for coverage was included. There's also a regenerative practice that helps us be more sustainable. And in a few cases, some farmers have been able to capture half a ton of carbon per hectare. And in other cases, they've managed a greater profitability, greater than 20% compared to what they were doing. Cut me off, please. I'm too nervous. One of the challenges we faced is to think, what are the incentives for the farmer to upload the data? Of course, we all know that we want to be more sustainable, more profitable, but there are some incentives lacking. So with these larger companies that we are working with, we are thinking of these types of incentives. When they hire us, we think about incentives together. For example, a greater value in the purchase of the product. There are a few banks that give us 4, 5, 6% less of interest in the credit rate to purchase machinery linked to precision agriculture.
Bueno, esto es parte de los directivos de la compañía.
And this is part of the board of directors of the company. And the last thing I wanted to share were a few of the challenges we faced for this growth. And very well, anything related to managing our growth, what we want to find the answer to is how do we preserve Puma's identity? Because we're proud of it and we want to preserve it. The same applies to the values that we want to hold in our working team when we bring in new talent. And finally, who do we want to be our partners, to invest in us? Who do we want these people to be? We also want to have that ability to pick them. And finally, the challenge related with AI. The data that come into the platform sometimes come in a mass manner in huge Excel sheets. And therefore, we need to use AI in order to filter that data, standardize it, and to work on it more efficiently.
And thank you. Good thing. Very well. Laura, thank you very much. It's over. It's over. No questions, please. Any questions? Easy questions, please. Yes, please. Thank you very much, Laura. I'm sorry, I do have a couple of questions. You did it very well. I have two questions. The first one is if you also work with the agro industry, in other words, if you measure emissions of the whole life cycle of a product. And the second question is related to the data usage. In other words, as a real data collectors from producers and companies, do you have a mine of information? So we have some public programs, for instance, try to measure the impact in public procurement. They have worked at the PDMA, and one of the concerns was, well, we stopped buying in the global market and we're going to buy locally. And what does that mean in terms of, first, savings, financial savings, and what does it mean also as far as impact to employment for local producers and in emissions? So you, based on these platforms, do you have parameters to make those types of calculations? So my question is, have you seen that potential and on how you use this data? So how do you see the future in that regard in policies? Well, the first question is no, not for now. We only do calculations in primary products, agriculture, as well as livestock. But we are with a company that produces peanuts in Argentina. We're starting to calculate industrialization of that peanut for peanut butter. We're starting in that route, but that wasn't our initial purpose. We're doing it by demand of the client. On the other side, use of data. Since Puma started, one of the ideas was to not share data. They belong to each producer. They don't belong to us, so we don't share the data. But we do understand we have a huge database of information to make all these decisions that you were mentioning. And we were thinking about some strategies, but always in aggregate form without providing specific information of the producers because they are the owners. Very well, Laura. We don't have more questions, so we'll go on to the next one. Thank you, Laura. Now it's a company that comes from Honduras, Trasify, Ruben Enriquez.
Sí, sí. Yo te indicaré cuando falte un minuto, ¿vale?
Bueno, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. How many here already had coffee during the coffee break? Everyone. Since we're talking about a lot of data, I made some calculations, and here we have consumed in each coffee break 11 pounds of coffee. So I will start. In Honduras in 2018, coffee traceability was completely in Excel spreadsheets and 80 softwares. And we started with a company to register all these coffee companies that service many producers in Honduras. Trasify is a service under SaaS concept or SAS, and what we do is we trace records of agriculture of coffee producers. This is a demo of how these records look. This is a view of quality control. This is a snapshot of the production screen when there's a dispatch to port. And these are some metrics of what we've been collecting for the past 5 years. So far, we have traced 1.2 million quintals, and we have helped around 15,500 producers that are cooperative members who have digitalized at least 233,000 records between receipts and payments to coffee producers. Our business model is B2B. We service coffee cooperatives. These are some of our clients. We have worked very close with these entities for the last 5 years, and it's basically been a process of culturalization of these cooperatives with logistics and quality control staff. And we adapt to market changes and demands. We have an inspection sheet app, and we are aligned to the European Union, EUDR, to geolocate the farms of producers. Currently, we have 40% of georeference of all 15,000 producers of the cooperatives we service. This is an example, a demo of the georeference. In this case, we comply with our due diligence of capacity of the producer to provide the points. In this case, the producer is serviced by the inspectors of cooperatives, and they generate a polygon, which is based on a demand of the European Union, which is above 4 hectares, it requires polygon. Otherwise, if it's below that, it doesn't. This is the support to technical teams of cooperatives. The inspection app not only georeferences the farm, but we also provide forecast, crops, pest management, tissue management of these farms. We have promoted an interesting project with certifications, regulations. Regularly, they have their audits in paper, and we have proposed digitalizing all the inspection sheets, because every year, Rainforest Alliance, Orgánico, USDA, Fair Trade, they produce many inspections of coffee producers who are certified. However, all these certifications are in paper, so we have promoted a new campaign we recently launched thanks to the European Union, that it requires this. We cannot speak about non-deforestation if we're producing a lot of paper in coffee production. And we do produce metrics that, according to our forecast of 200,000 records in each crop cycle, we issued 16.3 tons of CO2 only by printing these certificates of inspection without measuring the fuel consumption from point A to B and moving the coffee. This is our timeline. We've always been supporting the Honduran Institute of Coffee, trying to digitalize it. And from this timeline, I highlight this slide that we are working on, which is the second phase, which is our trade market, which is to launch these cooperatives of small coffee producers, for them to have a space for sales to access international market. And not only that, to try to release a fintech model to finance export contracts. In this case, it would be with the support of an impact fund or with a national banking and trade. That would be, it's pictures. I'm Joel Enriquez. I'm coffee producer, market trader, international market. I have my partner, Jorge Musia. He's a systems engineer, and this is Tracify or Tracify. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ruben. Any question?
Hola, bueno,
Hello, and first of all, congratulations. I believe it's super for coffee producers. Is there a possibility in your app for integrations to be able to integrate other things, or to have a level of scalability to adapt any other software or other apps for that same purpose? Yes, with EUDR, with the European Union, we've been discussing this with different operators to have an API integration and thus make more flexible the due diligence of the European Union. However, in Honduras, we have a very big gap in access to financing for these technologies, or more expensive technologies, because the review from non-deforestation has expensive contracts with satellites. So we can integrate with European Union operators to continue with our service cycle without making more expensive subscription of each cooperative. Very well. Any other question? Thank you very much, Roel, for your presentation. And now we move from Honduras to Brazil. And now the AgTech, Vegas, Monitoring, and Samuel Rodriguez.
Olá. Primeiro, gostaria de dizer que
first, I would like to say it's a pleasure to be here with you and this knowledge. My name is Samuel Campos. I'm one of the founders of Vega, and today I'm Director of Innovation for the group. I wanted to start my talk apologizing because I have to give my presentation in Portuguese. Since my Portuñol or Portuguese Spanish is very bad, so I'll go ahead and use the simultaneous interpretation. Very well. And Vega? Vega is a company that has the purpose to certify sustainability of agribusiness. and we work directly with the producers. We're a B2B company, and our customers are rural producers. We have approximately or over 115 collaborators, more than 80 active, and presence in more than four countries. And what do we do? Well, we create vision models of property. We work with remote assistance, with artificial intelligence to create a digital model of the property in two main spheres, considering the perspective of these properties and see what they have, what plans, how much they planned, and what's their productive capacity or transformation of their grasslands. We include the whole production perspective and also what environmental aspects they have, what's their capacity to generate ecosystemic value. So what are the challenges? If you look at this, how do we work with these two perspectives, production and environment? How do we connect these for it to generate value for the chain using technology, and how we can actually have profits from this with more sustainable production in the market? More than knowing what the producers are establishing or doing, we need to know what they're doing, what type of technology, what type of management they are using, direct planting, if they have coverage type planting, if they have a rotation of crops, how they use technology to have these mechanisms and how to scale up. This is a bit about our platform. Our platform is structured with IT, geographic IT systems, platforms we call structural platforms, and they have three greater topics. The first one is on traceability, and we call our clients eligibility, and we determine how we can guarantee that they have a commitment against deforestation. So we create a sort of analysis, and we basically use our remote assistance and blockchain. Another thing is climate intelligence for those who want to start a specific campaign, who wants to bring in producers that have at least 1,000 hectares who plant 300 soy and different types of crops. That will match their environmental protocol. And we believe that our clients also identify where their potential clients are. And something very strong that we have to work with is with carbon footprint, and how can we provide remote advice, working with the production and observing the carbon footprint, and how this can be conveyed to a food company, showing their commitment and to generate value for rural producers. And we do this in this platform Lida. It's a modular platform where we have several modules and where people can create different services. Here are some of our clients throughout the agro chain, agrochemical companies, cooperatives, food industry, banks, insurance companies. We also work with large corporations, and this gives us an advantage because we work not only in Brazil but globally, and we're taking our clients to other countries through financing process that happens very similar to what happens throughout Latin America. These are some of our numbers. We produce close to 1 million social environmental analysis per day. We had over 125 million tons of soy and over 43 million hectares we have worked on or monitored: Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, US. And we're monitoring all of this with our app. And this is challenging if we think about image processing. That's a computing challenge related to this. I also wanted to share a success case we had in a program we had in Brazil with the name strategic associations, in which we have direct and indirect bonuses, and we guarantee Bunch and their clients, we guarantee over 10 million tons in the last harvest. And this platform connects over 600 cooperatives and intermediaries who work with these commodities. And what Bunch does is it works with direct and indirectly with cooperatives. And in this program, we're in a second phase, very interesting phase, because there we have regenerative agriculture. So we're starting this harvest with 300,000 hectares with sustainable practices for our producers, and Bunch pays up to $20 per hectare for regenerative practices like direct planting or rotation of crops. And this way we can give bonuses for sustainable practices. And in this context, and thinking about the future, we were chosen in Paraguay by CICE Paraguay, and we were chosen as a sectorial platform for traceability. And now we are connected to all these types of companies in Paraguay and with Bunch in Brazil. And there we had the possibility to connect this with the emission values. Brazil is exporting close to 8 million to European Union, and we're also keeping in mind the carbon footprint. And our expectation is for this to take it, for this to serve and expand it to Argentina, US. So we have been working on this over the last 5 years of our company. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Samuel. Any questions? No questions? There's one question. Thank you very much. Great, very interesting, this platform. Just one question. Does it serve to validate and classify sustainable processes? Can the platform also work to assess ecosystemic services? We connect with payments for environmental services, and our ambition, what we want, is to create new money for the rural producers for the payment of environmental services related to a soy bag or a maize bag. And how do we benefit the producers for them to do it different, more sustainable, more reasonable way to generate new money? Because at the end of the day, and we've discussed this a lot, the question is, who pays the bill? How can I change my model? How can we produce transition agriculture? It's difficult. We have a study in Brazil for rural producers to change their models of productivity to a more sustainable vision or regenerative, it costs $40 per hectare per 3 years. Bunge is willing to pay half of that. They'll pay $20 per hectare, and it takes 3 years for them to produce that change of technology and cultural change. But we must understand how far we take that commitment to society, to the food industry, that at the end of the day pays. So it's important to know that we cannot do that alone. Muito obrigado.
Parabéns. Obrigado. Dois perguntas.
Two questions.
Como é o carregamento dos dados para você? Ou como faz os
How
produtores?
is this
E depois, como
uploading? How do the producers upload this, and how do you
os consumidores dispostos
see
a pagar uma diferença
consumer, or you think consumers are willing to pay a price
para que o mercado não
difference or
siga
premium
sendo
for the market
mercado de
to
nicho, de
continue being
pequeno,
a niche market, a
grandes
small
empresas
market
até o momento?
Perfeito. Os dados,
that
todos
makes
os dados são
the small
importados
company
pelo
to produce small companies? Our data
revenda cooperativa
is
de
provided by
No caso do
cooperatives
Brasil,
or rural
usamos
producers.
uma estrutura
Well, in the case of Brazil, we use a
ambiental,
structure
onde nós temos uma
called
base de dados de 7 milhões de
rural
produtores
environmental
agrícolas,
cadastral,
consegue
where we
conectar
have
isso com a
7 million
Argentina.
producers
Na
that
Argentina,
publish
estamos
this.
fazendo uma
So you
parceria com a
connect to that
Buenos Aires,
registry, and in Argentina, we
a
have
gente
a
está
partnership with the
colegário digital
stock market, where we're trying
produtivo.
to
Então, isso a gente está trabalhando toda essa
connect
estrutura de base de dados que começa pelo
agronomy in
registro da
Argentina to
propriedade, e a
create
partir
a
desse registro da propriedade,
database
a
that
gente,
starts
nosso
with the
modelo é
registration of
modela
properties,
digitalmente essa
and
propriedade,
with
todas
our
as
models have an
vendo o
algorithm for
histórico
those
do
properties and
histórico
provides all the
dos
information
ativos
where you can
ambientais.
see the
Em
crop
relação à
history
ponta,
and all the
a Vega
environmental
opera
assets.
cada
And in this
Eu acho
regard,
que uma empresa
Vega is a
que quer
company that
trabalhar
is
questão de rastreabilidade,
keen, that
trazer
wants to
valor,
work
ela tem que estar conectada
with
com a trade, porque a ponta,
traceability
ela consegue
and
influenciar
increase
lá
the
atrás, olhando para o
value
rural,
and
olhando para frente,
creating
olhando para o futuro.
influence
E as trades estão
with
com
the
seus
rural
clientes fazendo
producer
isso. A
and
Bunge
going
tem
forward
público
with
isso. A gente fez
food
compromisso
production.
agora com a
So
Unilever de
Bunge
algumas
is public,
centenas de
and
milhares de
it's currently
dólares para a
committed
Unilever
with hundreds of millions of dollars with Unilever financing projects on regenerative agriculture. I think that the carbon credit market at rural level is still at an early stage, but the regenerative agriculture, where you have the carbon footprint, is a good market for these bonds. Currently, European Union has a very strong standards with deforestation, also China. So it's a market. It's a market demanding, and will select who is prepared. Thank you very much. Thank you, Moy, for your presentation. We don't have any time for more. And now, Colombia, Julián Calderón will be presenting his company, Interrasas. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Julián Calderón. I am the Director General Interra. We are a company specialized in risk management, design, and programs on agro insurance. We basically facilitate for insurance programs to be executed, facilitate operational management, and especially to reach markets in which is difficult because of the specificities of rurality in our countries. When we started working in our company or with our company, we identified that in general terms, in all the countries of the region, the agro insurance penetration was in most cases below 10% of the insured area of each country, with some exceptions. And one of the factors that influences is that the process to assess risk of the documents required by insurance programs, and then the traceability of the farms that in some cases the insurance companies require, and reassurance, and these required operational process long and make the chain very inefficient. And so that's where we're at this moment, working, closing those gaps, improving efficiency of this chain and of the insurance processes. So this is where our value proposal comes, where we collaborate with the different players of the agro insurance chain, mainly reinsurance, insurance companies, brokers, insurance brokers, as well as in the retail channel, brokers for reinsurance, with agro producers and government entities, which at the end articulate public policies regarding development of insurance programs. And what we seek is to manage these with the risk with these insurance programs. And this value proposal we materialize through a number of skills based on high technology, which are our enablers. And we have a platform, and we'll show it in a little more detail what our scope covers, in which we integrate capacities like remote sensing with satellite images, climate data that comes from satellite information. We have an important component which is cross-cutting to basically all our operations, which is map analysis. So in our tools, we have a geo visors that allows us to deliver different layers of information for risk assessment, for our follow-ups, and we also integrate rain data, satellite information, as I said, a fundamental aspect which has been the main leverage of our growth, which is providing us scalability, is our capabilities to develop with low-code tools. This has been very positive, for it's allowed our tool, which is a software as a service, to be adapted in a very flexible way to the specific characteristics of each business model. Of course, keeping the logical structure to cover that process, but we have a turnaround time of weeks, a very robust project, which has given us an important scaling of this. And with these low-code tools, we have a web platform with the mobile app, which helps us manage information collection and field, improving traceability, and an API that allows us to integrate with mainly our partners, mainly insurance, reinsurance companies, to have an exchange of information.
We also include capacities in terms of analytics and AI, the analysis of big data volumes. Finally, here in insurances, they say to have a good insurance program, you need three things, which essentially is information, information, and more information. So what we do is we guarantee a capture of information that is relevant, sufficient, and we are leveraging these types of technologies. And we also have among our capacities the integration of devices with the Internet of Things, mainly sensors, soil humidity sensors, meteorological stations, and also other types of telemetry systems like the ones installed in the tractors to follow up on the harvest. And this data can be used for the parameters of insurances. Finally, capacities are fundamental because these are the technologies that are allowing us to provide services, but we have a clear focus on the process. Meaning we have the technologies, but at the end of the day, that's not what we sell. That's not how we provide our services, but rather we have a clear focus on the process. And this is, in a summary fashion, the life cycle of agricultural insurances. So there are moments where things are signed, where essentially we define the risk assessments. Risk assessments are done. Also, the conditions under which insurances are hired are established. So here in our platform, we have a number of tools that facilitate the signing process, both from the operational side of things as well as the risk assessment side of things. We also include capacities or focus on the monitoring process. We'd say it's fundamental in the life cycle of insurances, not just to sell the insurance, sign the insurance, and then see each other 6 months ago or in a year when there is an accident, but rather guarantee full traceability of the life cycle of the policy for generating alerts to accumulate risk assessment and other information that is required by the insurance companies. And for these types of products, which definitely are related with accidents, and that's where our capacities and tools facilitate the ability to validate the occurrence of events. It guarantees traceability. And one aspect that is fundamental for all stakeholders in the chain is transparency in the information and fraud prevention, because at the end of the day, that's what makes it sustainable in time. So our platform is a software as a service. It's known as InTrack. Essentially, this is a modular tool composed of 6 modules, wherein we establish the parameters, do the configurations in relation to the specific characteristics of the insurance program that we're tending to. Among the modules, we find the risk assessment module, which essentially allows to have risk assessment processes such as scoring modules, which are fed with climate information, satellite information, which allow us to identify areas with risk. The module for quotes and signings, which allow us to sell these types of products. So it's common in the case of Colombia, our country, to have areas that are very complex to sign insurance services because they flood a lot or because they have problems. And this allows us not to restrict the sale of these services in this area, but rather, once we know the conditions in the area, we adjust the rates, the deductibles, and other technical characteristics of the product to be defined in an automated fashion, and that saves us the process of having to go out on the field, etc. Also, the risk monitoring module is based on satellite data, which allows us to permanently monitor how the crop is developing. It allows us to also analyze cumulative risk. The module for accident management module is defined by capturing information on site. It's transparent and it's efficient. It also does satellite monitoring, and sometimes it estimates losses based solely on satellite data, some dashboards that are across the board to everything, the whole platform, and it allows to visualize data in real time, how the process is occurring on the field, and which areas have alerts, which areas have greater number of accidents. And our platform, or our module for parameter insurance, which acts as a way of calculating, and it connects to sources of information defined by the triggers of the insurance based on parameters. And based on this data, we generate the monitorings and the automatic settlements for payments and settlements for the parametric insurance. Very well. What's important here is This is one of the case uses, our success stories. And this is a program for plantain in Colombia in the Duraba area. It's important here to highlight the trade partners we work with and the importance and relevance of working in a cooperative fashion with them. It's essential to have a couple of metrics. Essentially, farmers who've been beneficiaries of the agricultural and livestock insurance have on average 22% compensation versus their annual average. And this is translated into lesser capacity of becoming indebted. And in the measurements that we've conducted, there's an ability to recover within several weeks, which is much more agile versus not having an insurance. And another fundamental metric is that we are avoiding them for going to the illegal credit market, which in Colombia is known as basically loan sharking. This is part of our work team. This is where all the alchemy happens. This is where we blend technical components in agriculture, digitalization, all of our skill set at the operational level. The authorities and organizations that promote us, obviously AICA has us here today. These are all fundamental for our growth and development. They've been fundamental for our validation on the market, which I think is really what has supported us. And well, to conclude, as Jose was saying yesterday, this is what we know how to do best, and our commitment is towards the improvement and increase of resilience in the rural sector. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Julian, for your presentation. We have time for a couple of questions. Thank you, Julian, for your presentation. I have a question. What kind of farmers can benefit from this service that you offer? Because obviously you have the potential to benefit several types of farmers. So tell us more about what kind, what size, what parts of Colombia. The agricultural insurance programs apply for any kind of farmer. Historically, the ones that are insured more are large-scale farmers. That's more for some logical issues that have been discussed here. They are the ones that have a greater level of perception of risk assessment. They're also a better profile for insurance companies. They have more information, they're more technical, they're more industrial. However, the program with agricultural insurances for small-scale farmers have grown a lot. Parametric insurances are, for the whole region, currently the spearhead to increase the penetration in agricultural insurances for small-scale farmers. There are some technical challenges that have been resolved, have been adjusted in each country, but honestly, we tend to farmers of every side, from every sector. And currently, at least in Colombia, the greatest percentage of insurance is with the small ones, because that's where currently public policy for subsidies is aimed at. Thank you. Thank you very much, Samuel. Here. Over here. I mean, honestly, we have done a few investments in parametric insurance. I have a long list, but just to ask a couple of specific questions. One, to know a little bit about the performance of what's the retention rate on temporary workers, and what's the pay grade for you among the premiums paid by insurance companies? And thirdly, how do you tackle the topic, the challenging topic of the famous basis risk, where parametric insurances are not 100% precise, so sometimes a farmer may suffer an impact, but it doesn't show up in the account. Can you repeat the second question? I didn't understand it very well. Well, I don't know if you understood the business model very well, but is it that you take a percentage from each premium paid by the farmer? In that case, what is the percentage? Now, with regards to the first question, it's fundamental here, especially with small-scale farmers, to have somebody who groups things, who acts as the broker or the channel to the trade process. Currently, that main grouper is financial institutions and microfinancers. Currently, they are becoming one of the main vehicles in order to take insurance or cooperatives of farmers and traders. That is all fundamental. Now, with regards to the second one, generally, it's a percentage. Our business model is a percentage over the value of the insurance premiums issued, which is kind of standard in the industry. And with regards to the third question, that's basically the boogeyman here in these insurances. The way we've tried to solve it is by having a twofold focus. The first is to do data analysis at the spatial level. In the case of Colombia, we're doing it through models that allow us to measure this information at the level of lanes, not large regions like municipalities or regions, but really from the data analysis, we want to try to simplify the cartographic units measured with satellite data. That has been one of the pathways. And the second, and possibly most important one, is that the triggers that are established for parametric coverage should be more adapted to the technology features of the crop and not so much to the historic climate information. So usually, I mean, the trigger is 100% of historic rainfall in the month of January, but there, depending on the productive system assessed, the answer might be different. So what we're trying to do is that based on the technical knowledge and the knowledge of the physiology of the crops, to establish triggers that are better adapted to cycles of development in the crop. So, for example, for fruitification or floration stage, we need to define specific triggers for those levels of development. Very well. Thank you very much, Samuel. I don't think we have any more questions right now. I think it's time to head for a coffee break. We're now going to move on to the last company today. Last but not least, we're going to Canada now. Besh Technologies, Scott.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hello, good afternoon. Me avergüenza decir que esas.
You'll have to bear with me as I present in English today. Thank you so much, Aika, for inviting us, and I'm pleased and excited to present Verge to you this afternoon. Verge is a software as a service company, and we provide optimized path plans for agricultural equipment in the field. We're based out of Alberta, Canada. And really, we solve this problem of path planning in the field. And it's a significant problem because historically, farmers plan their fields based on generational knowledge passed down over time. As time goes on, it gets more and more difficult given farms are starting to grow in size and complexity. In addition, farmers often outsource the operations in their field to contractors, and ownership in farms changes hands. Given this, technology needs to stand in and provide a solution to the industry. And that's where Verge created our software platform, Launchpad. Launchpad takes in a vast amount of variables in creating a plan for the field. These variables can include the field dimensions, equipment specifications, and obstacles in the field, as well as soil information, climate information, and I put a bunch up there, the list goes on. We refer to this as the physical layer of the digital twin of the farm that Launchpad creates. In addition to the physical layer, farmers also have to make a decision about what outcome they want to optimize for. These outcomes could be improving crop production, reducing input costs, any number of things that the farmer is trying to solve for. And of course, a farmer's most valuable resource is time. We refer to this as the decision layer of the digital twin of the farm. Putting these things together in Launchpad, we're able to create this digital twin, analyze the field, and provide that farmer with an optimal plan. Here behind me on your left-hand side, first you see a plan that's optimized for time. This means likely it's limited the amount of distance traveled in the field and also limited the number of turns that the equipment had to take. On the right-hand side, you see a field that takes into account the topography of the terrain. The red in the lines indicates significant slope and orange indicates some slope. And you can see here by changing the angle of the path, we're able to significantly reduce that red and orange in the field. This represents a plan that's optimized to limit erosion. You can see the two plans are mutually exclusive. You can't solve for both time and erosion. And we believe the farmer is the true steward of the land, and we allow the farmer to make that decision and decide what they want to optimize for, and then output in our software. We did a case study on a 34,000 acre farm over a 3-year period. The first year was our base year prior to implementing our software as a control. The second year, the farm started to implement our software partially throughout the year, got comfortable with using the software. And then in the third year, we had full implementation of the software. When we compared the final third year to our control year, looking solely at fuel consumption, we were able to save that grower on a 34,000 acre farm close to $173,000 US through use of our software. This corresponds to, in that reduction of fuel consumption, corresponds to a significant reduction in CO2 emissions. This is critical because we believe there must be an economic incentive in order to affect the environmental outcomes that we want to see through the use of our software. And this case study showed that that is in fact attainable. There's other social benefits for the use of our product. We collaborated with the government of Canada, as well as a large John Deere dealership in the country of Ukraine. We were able to identify through satellite imagery exclusion zones, and these represented unexploded ordnance, trenches, craters, tank tracks, and other effects of the war in Ukraine on growers' fields. We were then able to provide that information to the growers to help them better understand how they can farm their fields, as well as provide the information to the Ukrainian government so they understand the total effect of the war on their country and their crop production. We're a company with a global reach. Primarily, our users are based in North and South America. I've listed here the countries where we currently have users in North and South America. We also have users in Australia as well as Europe, and those are our primary markets today. Our team is based in Canada, the US, and Brazil. We really see our true value being driven by data. Today, we're a software as a service company. We work directly with growers and dealerships to build this digital twin, capture that data, those variables, as well as the farmer decisions into our software. Moving forward, we look to become a platform as a service company. We'd like to partner with other AgTechs, allow them to call our algorithm via API, and improve the product or service that they're providing. And then ultimately, we want to leverage that digital twin as a data as a service company, partnering with governments, institutions, and others in order to benefit the agricultural industry overall as we further move towards automation and digitization. Today, in addition to growers and agronomists and dealerships, we're really seeking partnerships with governmental institutions, public corporations, trade associations. We've seen a lot of success with this. I mentioned our partnership in Canada. We also have a partnership with a public corporation in Australia. It's a 3-year partnership where they are investing in us to develop our software specifically for the needs of growers in Australia. And this is really what we want to get into in the Latin America region. We really are looking for a similar type relationship to help us further break into the region. Before I wrap up, I do want to encourage each of you to go to our website, vergeag.com. There you'll see a sign up button for a free demo of our software. It allows you to plan on 5 fields. It could be your own field. You can use a demo field. It's very intuitive and easy to use. So I encourage you all to visit vergeag.com and sign up. And thank you very much for your time. Mucho gusto.
We have time for a couple of questions over here, the public.
No question?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. It was a really interesting use case. I don't think maybe many of us in the room haven't seen something like this before. I guess maybe just 2 questions. I was curious. One was, given that the quality of the analysis is dependent on the data that you're getting in, and it seems like you're not using your own proprietary satellites or other IoT mechanisms in the soil. Curious, how do you ensure the quality of that data? And then second, when you gave all those different use cases of different areas to optimize, I'm curious, just across your platform, what are the top 1 or 2 use cases that farmers tend to look to optimize?
Sorry, first question again?
It was just how do you ensure the data quality given that you're dependent on what's coming in?
Yes. So the data quality, we're really reliant on equipment data. So we partner with John Deere Ops Center and have a direct API into John Deere Ops Center. So we can pull that data from the equipment and understand what actually occurred, what operation happened in the field. But then we collect our own data through those farmer decisions. And so we do have control over that ultimately. But it's really, we are reliant on equipment as well as publicly available satellite data, as well as NASA-DIM terrain data for our software. I'm sorry, second question.
What's the main use case that farmers
Yeah,
optimize
typically
for?
what we're seeing it being used for, it really heavily depends on the region. So for example, North America, giant fields, very little terrain. And so we really see in that case, trying to optimize across a fleet of harvesters is really critical for large scale farms. When we look at Brazil, smaller farms, sugarcane farms, heavy terrain in Brazil. And so really soil erosion is critical in Brazil when they're looking to determine what path they're going to take in the field. So it is heavily determined by region and locale of what they're trying to solve for.
¿Una pregunta?
Any other questions?
No.
No?
Bueno, pues,
Very well, then
Scott.
thank you very much, Scott.
Bueno, estupendo, pues.
Well, fantastic. We've covered the time. We've been at it for exactly 1 hour. That's perfect. Thank you all to all of the participants of this session. And I don't know, Federico, anything else to add? Simply wanted to say a few clerical announcements for the rest of the day and for tomorrow. Before that, Javi, thank you very much for moderating this session, and thank you to all of the lecturers. It was very interesting. The conversations can then continue later on. That's, in fact, the whole idea behind this. For the rest of the day, the plan is we're going to go take a coffee break. That's going to take it easy. After that, we're going to do a tour through AICA, through the Open Doors AICA. The first, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to go to CIMAG. Oh, we're going to do that in 2 groups. The detailed instructions will provide them below, right? Perfect. That's it. And then tomorrow, once again, we leave our hotels, same time as today, 7:15, right on time as today, 7:15. And tomorrow there's this very small change in the agenda because the person from Endeavor, the executive director for Endeavor Argentina, was going to do a presentation in the morning. She had a personal issue. She wasn't able to join us. So as soon as we arrive here, we're going to take a group picture, family photo. So as soon as we get off the bus, we're going to guide you to where we're going to take the picture. After that, we're going to come back here. We'll have here a presentation from Lawrence Clerks. I recommend you better be well awake because that's really incredible. And then after that, we will be working in groups. Thursday afternoon, aside from the cocktail, which I'm sure is what you're all waiting for, prior to the cocktail, we're going to have some time for networking. Some time for networking. So if you were trying to coordinate a meeting outside of the formal official agenda, we recommend you do it, plan it for Thursday after 3:30, 4 p.m. I think that at 4 p.m. the agenda is over and the cocktail is going to start at 5:30 and it's going to end whenever it ends. But at that time, there's a cocktail, so feel free to plan any meeting that you need to hold. So let's go and have a